Look at what Clarence Thomas is up to.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's like, I am the pet of a billionaire who funds me a lifestyle vastly out of the reach of any civil servant, even a member of the Supreme Court, and has business before it.
Yeah,
and they can use my wife as a cutout to funnel money through.
Two things about the Clarence Thomas, which is a story that continues to give and give. There's Leonard Leo in his own business documents creating a $50,000 a year make work job for Ginny Thomas. Said in the business documents, make sure to leave Ginny's name off the papers.
Yeah,
textbook corruption. This is through Kellyanne Conway's polling outfit. And they hired her as a consultant. And by the way, John Roberts' wife also has one of these sweetheart fake jobs to do consulting for some lobbying organization or something like that. But the thing about Harlan Crow paying for Clarence Thomas's nephew's tuition is I like all the indignant responses from the Clarence Thomas defenders where they were like, they have kept this secret for years because of the tender adoption of his troubled nephew, and then raising him and sending him to school or whatever. And I'm like, okay, that's a nice selfless thing done by Clarence Thomas. But actually, for it to be selfless and for him to be your kid, you would have to pay for his tuition yourself. That's usually what happens when you have a kid or adopt a kid and choose to send him to school.
This is his amazing charity was just acting as a conduit for money from this guy. That's it. Cause it's not like he took him under his roof or anything. He just said, yeah, you pay for it. And
one other thing on the Clarence Thomas thing, Matt, you said that Thomas is the pet of Harlan Crow, that he takes on vacations to volcanoes in New Zealand. But I gotta say, I forget who made this point this week, but it gave me pause about in terms of where the corruption is. I think Harlan Crow and Leonard Leo may be Clarence Thomas's pet, because the question is that people bring up is would he vote otherwise if he wasn't getting all this graft? And the answer is probably no. But I think the corruption comes from Clarence Thomas, what he's getting from them, or what they're getting from him in exchange for all these vacations and buying his mother's house and giving his wife all this bribe money under the table, is him not retiring.
Right. Yes.
Because think how easy it would be for him to retire under Biden, because he's in his 80s. They're giving him all this money so he sticks around at least until there's another Republican president.
Because there is a real brainworm that sets in when you are hanging out at the highest elite levels in this country. If you're a Supreme Court justice, you're only making what, $250,000 a year. It's more than the president, I think, but it's still less than $500,000 a year. And you're around socially people who are in the upper stratosphere of wealth. A lot of people who aren't, justice monks are over time going to be damn, I would like some of that. And if the only way you can get it is to quit the Supreme Court, that becomes a real danger. But if you could guarantee that they get to live the most baller ass billionaire lifestyle while being public servants, then they'll stay there till they feel over. As long as they get to shovel oysters into their dome until they explode like Scalia did. Like Mr. Creosote.
Oh dear, I have trodden in Monsieur's bucket.
Well, nothing's probably going to happen with that, but
no.
Matt, to your point about his Supreme Court salary, someone did point out this week that Clarence Thomas said on record a while ago that being on the Supreme Court isn't worth what the job pays. So, I mean, that's a little bit of a signal to the Harlan Crows of the world to keep coughing up these, all these bribes and whatnot.
It's not a good job is the thing. For certain types of people, they can get off on certain elements of it. But over time, I imagine those wear out. And what you're left with is a relatively meager amount of work that mostly boils down to justifying your pre-existing political commitment on an issue. So there's no real intellectual challenge to it other than how do I gussy this up, and you don't really work that much. It's boring, and you can't really do anything else. So I think a lot of them get stir crazy. Souter quit as soon as a Democrat won. Souter was I'm out of here. I hate this job. And I think that affects even the right wing ideologues as well. And then, you got to keep them there.
But and thinking about all this, I just simply have to return once again to how stupid are the Democrats and their billionaire donors for not buying Ruth Bader Ginsburg an island or something like that to get her to retire.
See, that's the thing. Yeah. She has got a different brain that's wired
Everyone's got a price.
Job differently. She would say, how dare you to that? And it's because she is like wedded to these institutions in a way that Clarence Thomas isn't. Because the thing about Clarence Thomas, and Corey Robin and others have pointed this out, is that he is at heart a black nationalist who fully understands that America is like deeply racist. Like, he is down with every CRT critique of like America as a white supremacist enterprise. Everything else is built on top of that. And that means that he just does not give a shit about these institutions the way that someone, a nerd who came up through them and like adhered to them, like Ruth Bader Ginsburg did. So like, yeah, she wouldn't take any money to leave the court. That would be invalidating her entire career. Clarence Thomas knows the truth, which is that that's all bullshit.
Yeah.
Show me the goddamn money.
Yeah, like the reading of him is kind of like an Afro pessimist is fascinating because he's like, this is all bullshit.
Get your money.
So I'm going to get
your
mine.
money. That's the country you live in. It's not changing. You're not voting it out. Get your money.
Yeah, and like, and like if once you accept that, then like the only way for black people to have power are by like placating deeply racist white institutions. But like if you do it well enough, you can have quite a bit of power. You can have like, godlike power over our entire legal system if you play your cards right.
Yep.
In what is officially supposed to be a not racist country. You can take advantage of that.
Yeah, like people like to point out the hypocrisy that like he did benefit from affirmative action in his career and then he was against it. And it's like, yeah, the affirmative action from Clarence Thomas's perspective has robbed him of any pleasure he can get from his ascent through the institutions of American law, because he'll never not be a fucking affirmative action hire. He can never get rid of that. He knows that, and he fucking resents it. And it also means he doesn't give a shit about these institutions and doesn't feel validated by them the way that Ruth Bader Ginsburg does, or did. R.I.P. to a legend. The literal legend, the legend of the dumbass who didn't know when to quit.
Well, you know what? Like in that case, if buying her an island or basically giving her Martha's Vineyard, like that's what I would have been on the table. I would have said, Ruth, Martha's Vineyard could be like your own. It could be your Vatican, if you retire now, and that like, well, we will make you like in your heirs, like the Habsburgs of Martha's Vineyard. But if that wasn't going to work, you got to go with option B, which is the polonium tipped umbrella. Because like the rice
you got to take them out.
You got to take her out.
Like,
It's got to go. Can't have it.
God,
can't have
the
it.
way that they had to negotiate Breyer out of that seat, like he'd like held up there with a shotgun, like he wouldn't leave the evacuation zone when the hurricane's coming. Like they had to talk him out with a bullhorn for like beg him, and there was all this concern of like, well, we can't be too insistent and too obvious in saying that we need him to retire so that a Democrat could replace him, because then he's going to think more and more about how this is that would mean that he is a political agent and not an arbiter of justice, he doesn't like that. Like, you're going to spook him. He's going to run back into the woods. That's how the libs treat the court. Like they're fully enraptured. They're entranced by this stuff. Like all the conservatives know that this is all bullshit. Yeah. They know that power is the only thing that matters, and they've come to terms with that one way or the other.
And contrast that with our, Senate Judiciary Committee Chair Dick Durbin, who keeps releasing statements like history will judge this court, Mr. History will judge you, John Roberts, and it's like, well, he'll be dead, so who gives a shit? Oh, I'll be judged by history. I don't give a shit. That's
such a perfect response. Like, well, you know what? You're going to have that on your conscience then, sir. Wow.
And
you're incredibly useful, Dick.
And but then like defenders of Dickie D, they'd say, it's like, as we often return to on this show, but what really can the Democrats do? Because like there ain't enough votes for impeachment or like packing the court or blah blah blah. Like they're kind of. But
I think the argument is like I
don't think that lets them off the hook, because you have to like they've been gifted an issue that is like overwhelmingly popular in the public, i.e. like the Supreme Court and the people on it have never been less popular or trusted. So you have to push that as far as it goes.
No, because to them, the Supreme Court is a load-bearing institution preventing the barbarians from just overwhelming everything. The Republican, the chuds that they are terrified of. That is part of the bulwark. That's part of the dam. And if you start kicking at it, then you are risking getting blown over by a wave, because they really do feel that like these things are real and have a real power to keep us on like out of extremism, and they're terrified. So like every story about Clarence Thomas that comes out, I guarantee you, these fucking Democrat senators are like, oh shit, I have to deal with this now.
Yeah.
Like hey idiots, I'm on your team. I'm trying to keep this institution up. But because the people in it are now just fully hollowed out, cynical nihilists, they don't fucking give a shit. Roberts cares a little about the institution, legitimacy of the court, but like his response to this shows that even there's just, an arbitrary line that he's willing to ignore in his convenience, because obviously he doesn't really care either, or else he would do more to get rid of the appearance of impropriety. But so these guys are the only ones left holding this thing up, and they have to just watch as the conservatives just eat away at it like termites.
It's baffling because like Earl Warren is not walking through that door. Like the Supreme Court as a bulwark against like American right-wing fanaticism is like the call is coming from inside the House. Like that is what is going to facilitate barbaric right-wing extremism in the future. But again, they don't care about that either.
Yeah,
they don't care.
No,
about
they'll be fine. They'll come to some sort of accommodation. They're always going to assume that, and so as long as they're in the position they are, and any kind of real effort means, if we're going to actually take, because here's the thing, if you do propose as a thing, hey, we're the Democrats and we are going to go after the institutional corruption of the court, then you can't have these Democrats doing that. Like they can't be the ones to do it. That means you have to get new Democrats. So the Democrats in charge have no interest in advancing that, because people will come to the logical conclusion that they are not fit to do that job. So that means they're not going to bring it up. Under torture, they will not bring that up.
The people's voice rises and cries out, Andrew Gillum, save us. We need you. We need you now more than ever, Andrew Gillum. Please come and destroy this.
It's insane that with all the fear, like I'm telling you, these people are terrified of being overrun by the barbarians, but they're also paralyzed and petrified by that fear, that they're just slow walking into a senile 80-year-old with a sub 40 approval rating running for a re-election, and they're just going to let it happen. It's amazing. Like they are deeply terrified of what's going to happen, and the more like theoretical power they have, the more paralyzed they are by it. It's astounding, because their self-interest and the interest that they think they hold of preventing it are in direct conflict, and they can't resolve the conflict. So they just stand there, wait for Anton Chigurh to come and blessedly thunk them between the eyes with the fucking cattle gun. They'll thank him. They'll whisper thank you as he's going. Boom.
It's like Woody Harrelson, but instead of going, do you know how crazy this is? They're going like, you know how awesome our system of government is?
We love it, don't we, folks?
Yeah,
but I mean,
great.
like, what they're really afraid of is, we can't go after the courts, because then they're going to, the next time there's an election that's close at all, they're going to decide, you know what? These hooting maniacs who threw up their alternative slate of electors they picked up on Craigslist, that's the actual people going to Washington to put their votes in. And what are you going to do about it as Democrats? The answer is nothing. But that is what is going to happen with them in charge no matter what. So they're terrified of a thing that they're helping bring about.
Cool political system, Ahmed. You should bring it to the White House.
What's up with the clock kid? Where'd he go? He went to Yemen, right? He has like some sort of Disrupticon app now or something. I think he does.
He's building a new kind of clock, one with a countdown.